All right.
Everything is tasty with Pleasure P. It's a Dr. Pepper endorsement.
Yeah.
Love me some Pleasure P. I have to bring the Siglin today. I speak in all caps. I'm not very good at small talk. Ha, ha, ha. Jace's dad joke of the day.
Yep.
Wah, wah, wah. How we doing, guys?
Welcome in. Football is back, baby.
We are freaking back. Let's turn on this and see how we sound so you can hear yourself. Like, it soundception because it's going into the sound, but then it's on a delay. Whoa, boom. Oh, yeah, we're sounding good. Sounding good. Velvety. Almost Ron Burgundy-like.
I'll be right
Fuck
back,
you,
folks.
San Diego. Where are you going? Poop again?
No, I gotta go first.
Oh, Jace is going to poop again. It just leaves me solo dolo here. But we're going to get this sharing here probably about 5 minutes. We are going to start the show and get it rocking and rolling. I am just happy that football is back. Honestly, at this point, it has been 7 months, too terribly long since we've had football. Sure, we've had college football in the meantime. We had the opening game Thursday night, but today it's like football is actually back. Air smells different. I wore a hoodie today for like the first time in, about probably 5 months. I mean, it's South Dakota. Let's not get crazy. You still have to wear a hoodie 9 months out of the year here. Yeah, I feel like there was times in May I was definitely wearing a hoodie. Just here talking to myself.
I'm back.
Mm-hmm. I'm not fucking leaving.
Figured the podcast would be more enjoyable if people didn't have to listen to me sniff every 10 seconds. So.
I talked about wearing hoodies and how much I've hated the last 6 months. So
Yeah.
All right. Words are hard today as I try to share this on Facebook. Well, and my phone does like all these stupid autocorrects. Like it was thinking I was trying to type alive when I'm like, Jay, Simon, I are live. Instead, it's taking the I and live. And it's like, did you mean alive? And I'm like, no, stop fucking correcting on me.
Good news, everybody. We are not dead.
We are not dead. That is correct. Oh, we have a fantastic slate of games today, including we play each other.
Yes.
We play each other, yeah.
Broncos, Raiders. I'm going to see if Sean Payton can resuscitate the corpse of Russell Wilson.
And he can
That'll
make
be
him
interesting.
stop kissing babies and make
Yep.
him start punching them, all right?
That was an amazing quote. Stop fucking kissing babies. You're not running for public office. That was fantastic.
That was. I think even if you guys get rid of Russ, I think you're in better hands with Sean Payton.
I would rather have a different quarterback and Sean Payton than have
Well,
Russell
and
Wilson.
seeing Nathaniel Hackett on Hard Knocks, I can see how you like the guy. You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like I definitely probably want to have a beer with Nathaniel Hackett
hell yeah.
over Sean Payton. But who I want to have a beer with, like I feel like that's an owner from the '70s move. He's a guy I can have a beer with and we can talk some shit. And it's like, no, you need a motherfucker to run your team.
Yeah, you need
Like-
a Dan Campbell.
Exactly. Yeah. You need a kneecap
guy.
biter, an Achilles slasher,
Yep.
a throat garrotator, if that is even a word. Just take a carrot. That is Dan Campbell. I love the intensity because
Yeah,
it's
I
like
do too.
borderline serial killer, but he has a positive outlet for his anger. Coaching and
Yep.
being on the field and being a massive human being.
Yes.
He's like 6'7".
Danny Campbell?
Yeah,
Oh, he's
he's a-
huge, man.
yeah, he's a fucking monster.
He's a tight end. Most NFL tight ends are some of the biggest players on the field.
I do feel like alternate realities, though. He's a WWE wrestler somewhere in, Rick and Morty here. In another universe, there
He
is wrestler Dan
absolutely,
Campbell.
yeah.
In multiple,
He's
actually.
literally biting kneecaps in another universe. Yep.
In a real extreme wrestling league. Mm-hmm. Where else do we have to share this darn thing?
Oh,
at?
Will Levis been ruled out today. Is he battling an injury?
No, he's their third string quarterback.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Malik
been
took this backup job.
He been struggling, huh?
Well, he's just a rookie. I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of not that him and Malik were the same prospect, but I
Yeah.
definitely felt they both had the same amount of growing to do, which is probably 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, honestly, I think what the Titans are doing at quarterback there is smart.
Yeah.
Like, take a couple of young guys, throw them in the room. You got them on cheap contracts. You have good young backup quarterbacks who are exciting, but Tannehill's that guy for the foreseeable
Yeah.
future. He's only like 32. He's Derek Carr,
Yeah.
Jimmy G's age.
Yep.
And
they're similar talent range too.
Exactly.
He's a mid quarterback.
Mid quarterback
He's
who
not
can
bad.
give
He'll
you
never
good.
be great.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
having
you-
Hopkins
you
there
can
will
have
help.
moments. Yep. And that's that's going to be an interesting thing. I don't know. Are we running through each game, or are we just kind of?
Yeah, we can, and we can. I mean, we can honestly start
touch
with
base.
the Titans if you want. I mean, I don't know what order you have these on. I just went off the ESPN order.
Actually,
That's how I have my notes.
I just got the NFL app pulled up here.
There we go.
But yeah, which game do you want to talk about first, Cole? Let's kick it off.
You know what? I'll just go in the order of my notes here. Let's talk Carolina Panthers versus Atlanta Falcons to
Okay.
lead us in here, and then I'll let you break it down as I do the intro here. But obviously with Carolina versus Atlanta, I believe last time I checked, we have -3.5 and an over under 39.5.
Yep.
Obviously, big one here is you have second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder kind of fully getting the endorsement. He's taking the reins this
Yes.
season, obviously versus number 1 overall pick Bryce Young. So I guess I'll let you get into it from there.
Well, I think that the two biggest names they're going to be looking for is Bryce Young and Bijan Robinson. I think that's the eyes everybody's going to have on this game.
that's going to be.
We want to see how everybody or how these rookies are doing. And looking at, I'm just kind of taking a look from last year. Let me get my 2022 notes up here. Wow, I can't read today apparently.
You're good. You forgot your
okay.
glasses at home. It's
Yeah.
fine.
So Atlanta, last year, Atlanta was 25th against the pass. So it'll be a little interesting to see how Bryce Young does against them, especially in a division matchup. But it is worth noting that the Falcons' pass defense allowed 230 yards a game last year, but their last 3 games, they only allowed 154 yards. So we did see some improvement last year from them. And so that might be interesting going into this season to see if that momentum carried over.
Well, and I like some of the additions they had. Like they had Calais Campbell, which I think is not talked about. Calais Campbell, I mean, even at like 35, is still, I think, a respectable defensive lineman.
Yep.
And he's good there to, kind of train, and especially teaming him with Grady Jarrett. That's potentially disruptive, especially to a Panthers team. I think Ike Mekwanu, you like on the left side. He had some learning moments last year, but overall, he was like my favorite tackle out of the 2022 draft. So I don't know how the interior of that line is going to hold up to that pressure. And the big thing, though, is Bryce does scramble. Like, I actually have a bet with him over on like his 12.5 rushing yards because I think he yams that in the first quarter.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to be running. He's a young quarterback. It's his first start. There's going to be some nerves, some jitters, and I think that usually leads to kind of a little bit more run-heavy presence.
You know what? I'm going to jump into my price picks. I'm going to smash that over now.
Yeah. It's like a low amount. I can't remember if I did a sleeper or prize picks on it, but another one about this game, this is the NFC South, I think, this year. I mean, we can talk predictions, division winners. I do have the Saints, but it's still anybody's ballgame.
Yeah.
Just like it was last year. I don't really trust the Saints to run away with it. And at the same time, you have a Panthers team who overperformed last year. You get a respectable head coach in Frank Reich. You sign Miles Sanders. You bring in a veteran like Adam Thielen to work with those younger guys. Obviously, a guy who's performed with Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson probably has a couple pointers to add to the receiver room.
Yep.
But at the same time, Atlanta's exciting on offense.
Yeah.
I think Arthur Smith, if he actually uses all the talent today, Cordero Patterson is ruled out, by the way.
He is. Well, and you look at their last 3 NFL drafts, what have they done? They've drafted top 10 offensive talent all 3 years. Like, they are going in. The big thing that they're missing is consistent quarterback play.
Yep.
And in my opinion, a little bit more competent coaching. I'm not out on Arthur Smith. He could be that guy, but I need to see him with all of his pieces together to figure out.
Also, if you're investing in a coach, my thing is like shoot for the moon every time.
Yeah.
You should be going for someone who's going to build a successful roster and gets you to the Super Bowl. I mean, that should be the goal for everybody. If you're not, then I question what you're doing as an owner and a GM in the NFL. Unfortunately, I just don't think Arthur Smith's that guy. I think he's a good run-first offensive coordinator. Obviously, we saw his success in Tennessee. We've seen in spades, kind of here, or in shades a little bit here and there, what he can do in Atlanta. Like last year, I think Marcus Mariota lost him more games than Arthur Smith did.
Yeah.
So once again, kind of where you're at. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think it might be warm.
Yeah.
And he's a competent
He's
NFL head
on
coach.
the wait and see. The wait and seat.
If Atlanta sucks this year, I mean, I'm talking 3-4 wins, top 5 draft pick. You're looking at the Caleb Williams sweepstakes out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I still think this is a team
that could put up 7 to 9 wins.
Yeah, they have a good, young, hungry defense. I think Troy Anderson, a guy I picked up in IDP Fantasy, I think he's going to have a big breakout year. Absolute stud out of Montana State. He ran a 4.4 as a linebacker, so he's going to be there with Caden Ellis, who comes over from New Orleans. I think they have really young, hungry defense, and that was one thing that was underrated about them. Because actually, like even in my fantasy starts, I don't have anybody from Carolina. Like my 2 fantasy starts are I think Drake London goes off because Carolina allowed the 4th most points to wide receivers last year, and then even then I'd still throw Hayden Hurston, who's always been respectable. He's a starting tight end, and I think if they do kind of focus on the rest of the options a little bit, I think Hayden Hurst could be a sneaky tight end addition. I'm not saying start him over like your premium tight ends. That's why like I kind of caution him. Like I have a Panthers player, but But still, the Falcons allowed a lot of points to tight end last year. So
another before I move on, one last player I just want to keep an eye on is Jonathan Mingo. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He doesn't have a whole lot of competition outside of the old guys there. DJ Chark, I believe, is out as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that connection between Young and Mingo, if there's anything there. If
you always you want to see that early if you're the Panthers too. Your 1st round pick and your 2nd round pick. Develop the chemistry right off the bat. You know what I mean? So the only other thing I would add is today I would sit on Kyle Pitts. The Panthers defense is fantastic, and Kyle Pitts just seems to disappoint us always. And I wouldn't start either quarterback because I think this is going to be very heavy run-based. You obviously have Tyler Algier and Bijan in one backfield. You have Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard in the other backfield. Like, it's going to be a run-heavy game to both. If the touchdowns come from quarterbacks, I think I would bet on the underside.
Yes, I agree.
Moving on, let's go to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, fresh off the extension versus the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite with an over-under of 47.5. So I guess I'll kick it to you. What is your first initial thoughts of this game? What do you think of Cleveland this year? Because I think we know Cincinnati is good.
Yep, that's going to be actually. Let me get logged in here because there's some points on Deshaun I want to get touch base on. But I just forgot my password, so I'll let you actually start this and I'll pick up here.
Yeah, of course. So just a couple of fantasy starters I really like Evan McPherson this week. He's a good kicker. Obviously, he's been one of the most kind of leading kickers in the NFL since he kind of came in, 2-3 years ago. Now, interesting stat, the Browns did allow the 7th most points to kickers in 2022, and there's just something about it's week 1. Maybe the offenses aren't all the way up to tune. I do think it is much easier. Like when an offense is rolling, it's hard to stop. But I do think it's much easier to get a defense to a respectable playing level week 1 than it is an offense. We're going to see miscues. We're going to see some possible failures in the red zone by the Bengals, maybe just due to their offensive line. Honestly, I don't think I'm putting it on Burrow and the receivers, but shit just might break down there. And so in that case, I think, getting Evan McPherson for a couple easy field goals in your kicker leagues, or if you want to bet him, I think he's like 6.5 points last I checked for like fantasy score and kicking points on Prize Picks. So I would definitely hammer that. Even if it's 7.5, I'd still hammer the over on that. I think he gets a couple field goals. They do score a couple touchdowns. And the other one I really like is Joe Mixon. Because
people are sleeping on Mixon, man.
Well, and the Browns allowed the 5th most points to running back last year, and they lost their best run stopper in Jadeveon Clowney. Like Jadavion's always been a better run stopper than a pass rusher. Like he's been elite the past 3-4 years as far as a run defender goes. So when you take that out of the defense, I think people are forgetting that. Like, because Jadeveon wanted out of Cleveland, so you kind of assume he left. Well, you forget that, he isn't there. So I think a big day for Mixon's happening, especially with Samaje Perine gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not to mention, Mixon averaged 60 rushing yards a game last year, and that includes throwing in 2 injuries and, 5 bottom of the barrel games. Like he was pretty serviceable last year.
Yeah, and the Browns still have a decent defense, but I just don't know what to expect out of this team.
40 receiving yards. Yeah, Joe Mixon averaged 100 all-purpose yards last year.
Yeah, he's active in the receiving games. I'd hammer him in a PPR league. Like, on the ground, decent running back, but I think he's an RB1 for sure this week. Like he's an RB1 most weeks, but this week it's like, maybe pick him even for like, your FanDuel lineups.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then my fantasy sits for this game. I believe if I check my notes right, so this is the number 1 and number 2 defenses in points allowed to quarterbacks, which means that defenses are susceptible to the run in the red zone, and the quarterbacks aren't scoring touchdowns. Now, obviously, you have Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson. There is potential there. I'm not saying sit Joe Burrow. But I am saying, once again, if you have someone who is comparable, like if you lucked out and you also got like a Geno Smith who's going up against the Rams this week, I might make that swap. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just because it's week 1, the weather there is supposed to be shitty. We kind of have a lot of rain going through like the middle of the country right now. So I don't know. Once again, Joe Burrow could prove me wrong and go for 350 and 3 touchdowns.
Absolutely. real quick, since we were talking about if anybody does play Prize Picks, Joe Mixon has a 17-yard over/under for rushing yards in his first 5 attempts. That's only a 3-yard per carry average.
That is crazy.
Smash that over if you're on Prize Picks. That's a very good line.
Yeah, let's make one here. I'll make one with you. So what do we got so far?
So
we got
far,
Joe
we got
Mixon the
first 5 rush attempts over, and then we got Bryce Young over 13.
What is up?
Rushing yards. What's going on, Justin? Welcome,
Here,
man.
take my spot real fast and talk with Jason. I'm going to sub out for 2 Broncos fans. Boo. So Joe Mixon.
Hello.
Hello. What's going on, Justin? How you doing, brother?
I am fantastic. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. So we're just touching base on the Browns and Bengals game. That's where we're kicking off at. And just looking at Deshaun Watson, kind of touching on him a little bit. That was a bad analogy. Not touching on Deshaun Watson. Let's
Just feeling this one out.
let's feel
Jace
this one
likes
out.
to touch on people.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason, you want to scoot over a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that. Oh, third. So, Deshaun
on,
Watson,
Scooter.
he only played weeks 13 through 18 last year. Very slow start. I think everybody's kind of expecting that to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I struggle with Deshaun Watson because
He was only-
amazing, and
They became a rapist.
then
Or you got
all
found out.
that drama, and
so
I think it was just too much of a distraction for his mental state, and he just seems like he doesn't know how to play anymore.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. I think a lot of people don't understand how important the mental aspect of football is. You got to be,
Agreed.
mental health is a big aspect of that. But looking at last year, in his 6 games he played, he only averaged 183 yards. I mean, that's
Pedestrian.
rookie quarterbacks in their very first NFL game averaged 224. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Also,
compared to
remember,
what
he's
he
on the
was.
Browns, so
He is on the Browns, yes,
little
but
bit of a break there.
he was surrounded, but he's got talent though. He had
he
Kareem
has a
Hunt
ton
and
of
Nick
talent.
Chubb and Amari Cooper, and and David Njoku. He's got talent around him, and their offensive line was not the worst. He could have played much better, and I think it was just
Yeah.
a combination of, mental fortitude, I should say,
Yeah.
with all the legal stuff, and
Yep.
The world hates him. I don't think there's a Deshaun Watson lover out there. So
I don't know
there's-
if you
there's still
you saw any of
Deshaun
the
Watson
pictures from
lovers.
last year, but there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit disturbing.
Yeah.
How many people were rooting for him?
surprisingly, I noticed last year a lot of NFL players actually. There were a lot of NFL
Well,
players
there's
that were
still
sticking
there's
up for him.
there's still a fraternity, and I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
defending this in any sort of way, just merely explaining it. There's a fraternity of NFL players. It's a hard time. But also, I mean, if we're going to talk to Deshaun Watson on the outside, I think we also got to talk about the fact that he was out of an NFL locker room. He's out of an NFL system.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I mean about the mental health part, though, is all the distractions, yes, and the mental health maybe decline, but just the routine. He
the
was not in
Texans-
the locker room. He was not training. He was not game planning. He was not doing football every day.
The Texans even went as far as before he got dismissed from the team, pretty much, and then sent
Almost
home
2
before he
years.
was traded. They had him as a third-string free safety. Remember that he was playing practice squad free safety. Like they were just fucking with him. He was in like a number 40
Yeah,
jersey.
That
like
is- yeah, that's
Demoralizing him,
yeah. It's really demoralizing for a player. Like whether they deserve it or not, I'm not the one to judge that here. But he's finally had an NFL offseason. He was suspended for 12 games last year.
Yep. No coaching changes, I want to point out.
Yep,
So,
Kevin Stefanski's still there. Kevin Stefanski actually had one of the better, more efficient offenses last year. Now, obviously, losing Kareem Hunt to kind of balance out Nick Chubb hurts a little bit. At the same time, though, you still have Nick Chubb.
Yep.
You have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones gave you kind of something to look at last year. He proved he's maybe an all-right wide receiver too, but who I actually really like in this game for Cleveland, and I'm going to keep pounding on the table for this boy, is Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore is
Because he has
His
been
efficiency.
misused. He has been mistreated. He has been bamboozled. He has been finagled. He has been just treated wrong by the Jets, and
Yes.
I am so happy that he has a chance to maybe redeem himself a little bit.
I'll
here.
be completely honest. I'm probably the worst person to talk about any rookies because I'm the worst college football fan.
Well, he's a third
and
year receiver.
And young people because I literally took it last year off. I maybe watched 60 minutes of football all year long, and can you blame me? as
Yeah.
a Broncos fan.
We always like one novice on the show.
So I know a lot about football before like 5 to 10 years ago, but new players like Elijah Moore being a third-year player, I know I've heard the name before, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, he was on the Jets. Broke out for some games, but obviously quarterback play was their big issue. We'll talk about the Jets at the end of the show.
Inconsistencies, talent.
But I'm really excited to see him in Cleveland today.
Yeah,
That
that's going to
is
be
that
an
is one
interesting.
bet I do like. So,
Yep.
all right, moving on here. Next game, and I will lead it in and then kick it off to you, gentlemen. We have a very exciting game. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
Jacksonville is favored by 5 points. Last I checked, over/under was 45.5.
Yep.
We have Trevor Lawrence versus Anthony Richardson, something that could potentially be a battle for the next decade in the AFC South.
Yeah, it could.
True.
So I guess, Justin, I'll kick it to you first. I don't know how much you've really looked into Anthony Richardson. Obviously, we had a big year from Trevor Lawrence last year in his pseudo-rookie year because
Who's the home game? Is Indy at home?
it is in Indianapolis, yes.
I was listening to the radio on the way over, and I was on ESPN radio, and they were just dumping on Anthony Richardson's outfit to walk into the game and saying how basically he doesn't know how to dress himself, and if you just go by his outfit, they're going to go 2-14 or 2-15, whatever it is, how many games there are this season. But
I will cut in here real fast. So Siglin, who's not with us here today, has an interesting theory. And he does not mind if Anthony Richardson shows promise, but the Colts just absolutely are dog shit. Because obviously, a little wide receiver coming out of Ohio State that may sound familiar to Colts fans. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. This is going to be a top, if you know anything about college football, you know it's going to be a top 5 pick next year.
Yeah.
Like, at least by talent, he should be. So, I mean, would it be the worst thing ever for the Colts just to maybe...
Suck again.
Yeah.
And
Oh no, we suck again. Because I mean, last time it worked
Welcome,
out.
Marvin.
It worked out pretty all right, and then Andrew Luck retired out of nowhere, and then they started hiring old quarterbacks. And I
Yep.
think
See, and I
maybe
think
you go
that's-
back into the cycle here of draft one, develop that motherfucker, and then hey, you might be good long term.
Yeah.
It just might be a
But-
rough road to that point.
I could definitely see that. I could see the Colts doing that because you know they do it, and you know a lot of teams have done it. They've
And
literally
Jim
done
Irsay
investigations
is
about
just
it.
drunk all the time.
I think the problem with that strategy is the draft is such a crapshoot. It doesn't matter
Yep.
where you draft a guy, top 10, last round, undrafted. It's such a crapshoot. The draft itself is its own political game that they're all like getting you ready to do these drills that 90% of the time don't even translate to football skill.
Yeah, but I think there are, you have your general player pool, and then you have standalone players that
Yeah.
are going to translate to the NFL level. Marvin
I
Harrison
agree with
Jr.
that.
has shown that. It's not just about drills, but just his college tape in general. Because Ohio State, right?
yeah.
Yep. He's an absolute
Well, and you're also
dominant force.
talking to school at this point really has to be starting to be considered wide receiver U. I
Yep,
mean, going back all the
exactly.
way to Michael Thomas, like you're talking some of the best receivers right now are from Ohio State.
Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson.
And both of those gentlemen said
that
Marvin
Jackson-
Harrison Jr. was the best out of all
Yep.
of them.
And
And
Jackson
I
Smith and
believe he
Jigba.
probably will be
Where's-
just genetics alone.
What happened? Did we lose the cover?
My thought
Lost a
process
mic
with the
cover and we
draft
just
thing
had
was,
one more person
If you're
walk in.
sucking to try and get better players, are those players going to want to play for you?
Yeah.
Is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to want to play for the Colts if they win 1 or 2 games this year? I wouldn't. I mean, if you see a team that's on the trajectory that the Browns have been on for years or something like that, I think that, they get a little bit of excitement and, boost when they get drafted, but then they get there and they see how poorly run the team is, and it doesn't make them want to hang around. It doesn't make them want to put in extra time and extra effort to prepare and be the best. That's, I think, where I would run into the issue of if you're going to suck for a player, I mean, you're still lowering your standards of your team and your franchise to be a crappy franchise.
I mean, overall, that was more of a bunny trail for Siglin. I don't think any
Yeah.
professional team, for the most part, is going to.
I just wanted to bring it up 'cause that's
they're not
his
going
big
to
thing right now.
intentionally suck for a player. I think that
Tell that to the fucking Cardinals.
right. I know, right?
So you tell that to any bad
No,
team.
in this game, it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have a little bit of a trap game for Anthony Richardson fans too. It's going to be very interesting to see Richardson out there and how he does with his debut game. But the Jaguars, their run defense is actually pretty good. They were
They
top.
look
They were
tough.
top 10 last year, and they only allowed 100 rushing yards a game on the road total. So
Well, straight up, if you're in a defense league or you're playing, FanDuel today and you have to start a defense, start the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
bare minimum, even if like Anthony Richardson gets a couple boom plays, there could be 3 turnovers in this game
Yeah.
Their
easily.
budget's not horrible. I just swapped them out of my lineup. Actually, they're 4,400, but I went a little over budget, so I swapped them out for the Raiders defense.
That's fair. That could be either a boom or bust pick because our defense is retooled. But we'll get to that.
Yep. So,
All right. Any other points on the Jags Colts? My only thing I wanted to say is I did have 3 fantasy starts in this one. I would go T-Law, Jags defense, and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, I think, is going to be a top fantasy
Yeah.
option this year.
yeah.
There haven't been a lot of great fantasy tight ends the last couple of years. I've
We're
not been
getting-
watching, but I've been playing.
I guess probably as opposed to 20 years ago. I mean, we have great options.
I feel
Back in
as
the day, it was
opposed
like
to
Tony
10, 15
Gonzalez
years
and then
ago.
who?
I feel like there's always a few that would consistently get you 10, 12 points. Yeah, you're not going to get 20, 30 points, but I feel like squeaking 10 points out of a tight end last couple of years was like pulling teeth.
That's fair. That's fair. The last couple of years have been rough.
Tight end draft in.
And I would fade Anthony Richardson and Jacksonville's wide receivers. I'd like someone to boom in that game. I just don't know who.
Well, here's if I'm looking at price picks and what I'm actually going to take for my line because I'm going to try to do a line in each game, and I'm actually going to take Anthony Richardson under 192 passing yards. I think that's a safe line. I don't
like their
Against
receiving
the
core.
Jags, I would
rookie
do that, yeah.
quarterbacks in general, like I said, average 224. Richardson's already known to struggle in the passing game, and he's going up against a top 12 defense. So I think a combination of his very first NFL start, his struggles passing already, and a good Jacksonville defense, I think it's pretty unlikely he clears 190 passing yards.
I can see that. Yeah. No, I'm going to put it on mine too.
There was one prop I saw in that game. I think it was on Underdog. It's probably on all of them, or
Yeah.
at least within a yard or two. It was Pittman, and I think there's maybe even one other, Alec Pierce. I think Pittman's over 42.5, and Alec Pierce is something under that. But with Richardson's cannon
Yeah.
ability,
All it takes is one
if you were
catch.
to if you were to rely on a gamble,
Yeah.
literally.
Yep.
I'm not taking either of them, but I did see them and they were enticing.
Yep.
All right, leading us into the next game here, we have the Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota obviously is favored by 6 with an over-under of 45.5. So, Jace, I'll kick this one over to you. How are you feeling about Vikings-Bucks?
So I'm actually pretty excited to watch this game because I'm kind of a Baker stan. I like Baker Mayfield. I don't think he is as terrible as a quarterback as people make him out to be. I think he just got absolutely shit on by the Browns. And going back to the Deshaun thing, I think that he's just been having a hard time mentally, and I think that's what's been inhibiting
agree.
his game the most. I mean, Baker Mayfield rejuvenated the Browns, took them to the playoffs 2 years in a row, almost upset the Chiefs in the divisional round. He has shown he can do it. He just needs a team and a supporting cast that believes in him. And what better place to put Baker Mayfield but on a team with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and
Oh, yeah.
Rashad White? I mean,
Yeah.
he has got probably the best weapons he's ever had in his career, and he's going up against a Vikings team that, let's be honest, they've shown year after year after year that they can be up by 28 points and
Well,
just allow teams to absolutely
just find
shit
a
on.
way to-
They have
find
no
a way to
corners.
lose. Yeah, they don't.
They have
And
no
Well,
corners.
to be fair though, their rookie corner last year, he got injured in the preseason. He was a first round pick and he got injured right away. But
Andrew Booth was a second, high
Yeah,
second.
Andrew Booth. Yep.
Just
the,
saying.
the biggest thing I'm excited about is just to see how Baker does with these weapons, with the supporting cast. It is a road game. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game for him. I do not believe the Buccaneers win this. I think the Vikings probably clear them by double-digit points, but I do.
That won't,
Yeah.
force him to have to win the game.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how Baker does with the Buccaneers. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, I think with the Buccaneers' weapons for Baker, Baker's not a bad quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but like Jay said, with the weapons and with hopefully a coaching staff that believes in him and has found his strengths and knows how to put him in a position to win. I mean, the Vikings have a good run defense, but they've never really had a great pass defense.
Oh, I
So,
think this game
I think
goes
it could
over
be-
600 combined passing yards. Like,
Yeah.
I think both
I think it could
quarterbacks
be
have a
really
chance to
exciting
throw
game.
300 today. You're talking great receiving cores, young and experienced. We'll just say young and inexperienced. I won't call them bad. We'll just say they're
So
young
how do you
and
feel about
experienced.
Baker Mayfield's 231 passing yards line.
Smash that motherfucker.
I like that too.
Yeah.
If he can't get over 230 with those weapons, he probably shouldn't be on that roster. I feel like I could get 230 yards with those guys.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree.
The big props I've been balling back and forth on in this game is the Chris Godwin's got a higher receiving total than Mike Evans in almost every one. I really, really want to see how Baker divvies up those targets, who he
Yeah.
favors between those two.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
obviously Mike Evans has been the longtime wide receiver one there, but Chris Godwin
He's
is
cleared
your
1,000
favorite?
yards every year, no matter
Well,
who his quarterback is.
he's the
So,
best receiver Baker's ever played with, and I would dare to venture that Chris Godwin is the second best.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's considering Amari
I would
Cooper
take
in the
that
mix.
mix.
Yeah.
He
Like, I
never-
think he's playing with his best too.
Baker's never played with Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they
Yeah.
acquired him last offseason
Yep.
and they got rid of.
Yep.
Yeah. So
He
yeah,
played
yeah,
Odell, didn't he?
yeah.
What?
Well, the ghost
He
of
did-
Odell Beckham.
Yeah, the ghost of Odell Beckham.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, Odell. We'll talk about him in the Ravens game, but yeah, the ghost of Odell Beckham Jr. is
Yeah.
is what I would say that was.
Is he the biggest fraud of a wide receiver?
Not fraud.
think so.
I do
yeah, I
think.
wouldn't say fraud, but like overrated wide receiver that we've ever seen because of
gifted with
a couple phenomenal catches in his rookie year, a good second year, and he hasn't done anything outside of his first
Again,
two seasons.
I think that's mostly just his mental side. He's too distracted the same way Juju Smith-Schuster was. He's doing too much that's not
Oh.
football.
Are we
Sorry,
forgetting
I
this?
bunny
Are
trailed,
we
yeah.
forgetting this dude 18 months ago put up like 100 yards in the first fucking quarter of the Super Bowl? Like Odell deserves the
He's still
respect,
very
but he is
talented.
not. He is the
He's not
problem is
focused.
the problem is straight up durability.
Yeah.
He's small. Like he's what? He's 6 foot tall, but he's a $195. Like he's just tiny. He gets fucking hit and he gets hurt.
I did.
And I think Baker being there was very inconsistent because he'd have games where he was like 200 yards and then
Yep.
boom, next 4 fucking games, 40
Yeah.
receptions, no,
Yep.
or 40 yards, 5 receptions, no touchdowns.
Yep.
He's, what,
So-
33 now?
Yeah, but I think after having all of last year off, like there was kind of the will we, won't we, like that
Yeah.
that recovery year most people get on an ACL where they're kind of off a little bit. He was rehabbing the whole time, so I think he is back. He's healthy. Like I said,
he's
we'll talk about
focused.
that with the Ravens game, but I do like Odell going in this year.
Yeah,
Quick last note on this: my fantasy starts today are Justin Jefferson and Mike Evans, 2 top players against bad secondaries. They're young and
Yeah.
inexperienced. Hammer that, and honestly, Alexander Madison. Well, a lot of people like his production this year. You still have Devin White and fucking whatchamacallit, Levante David on the other side. Like I don't like him to go for a lot of yards. Might get a tutty here, but I'd bet against that, and I'd also bet against Jordan Addison. I think KJ Osborne for right now is the wide receiver 2 in that team. He's had years in the system. He's played inside and outside for the Vikings. So I think
been
while
very
they
consistent.
acclimate Jordan Addison in, I still think KJ is the wide receiver 2 there.
Yep.
Ooh, what we kind of started talking about to start. We got Titans Saints next, boys. So Tennessee Titans at New Orleans Saints. New Orleans is favored by 3 over under of 41. First game from my boy DC in New Orleans. And that is actually one of my fantasy plays of the day. Is the Titans are dog shit against the pass. They did nothing to get better. They lost linebackers that were really good in coverage for them last year, and David Long Jr., who's now with the Rams. I do not like the Titans this year. I think their offense has something special, but honestly, they could be a fun team to watch.
Keep adding big name players. but
Shootouts.
keep losing their kind of core role players. It seems like they just let them walk and don't ever have any good plan to replace them. I mean, you see it with their offensive line, their defensive line, and linebackers constantly.
Tennessee allowed almost 300 passing yards a game
Yep.
last year.
Yeah, I think they were the worst in the
yeah.
league.
Derek Carr is my smash
So
of the day
if there's a game,
for his passing yards because he's at what, like
Yeah.
242, I think.
Carr, do you take Carr or do you take Olave in this game, though? Like,
Yeah,
I'm taking
both.
Olave.
Yeah.
MT's healthy too, not that he's gonna
I
like,
think
be the leading
if Derek
receiver.
Carr wants to make a statement, he'll throw for like 500-600 yards.
Yeah,
he could.
I will say I like Olave for like a touchdown here. I wouldn't like him for overwhelming
So-
fantasy production just because of the variety in that offense.
Derek Carr has a 1.5 passing touchdown line.
The only thing I'd say is Jamal Williams is on that team, and
Yeah.
Derek Carr is notoriously bad in the red zone as a passer. Trust
he?
me, I
So
know
on-
these things.
On underdog,
Oh, that's
underdog
right, I
Carr's
forgot
at
about
244 and a
Williams.
half passing yards and over under an interception. No touchdown. Olave's 65 and a half yards and
Check this
MT
out,
is
boys.
42 and a half.
Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr combined 528 passing yards today.
Smash that.
That's a good one.
That's a good line.
That's a great one.
It should
Yeah.
be. How's Carr usually at running back and tight end.
He loves distributing to the tight end, which leads me to my second fantasy start of the day, Jawan Johnson.
Yep.
Derek Carr loves tight ends. He turned Jared Cook into a 1,000-yard receiver. He's the first guy who made Darren Waller big. Derek Carr loves tight ends. He even made Clive Walford look like a respectable tight end at one point in his life. So,
Who's the New Orleans coach?
Dennis Allen.
Dennis Allen, Derek
Former-
Carr's first head coach.
Yep, former Raiders head
Former
coach.
Raiders and Broncos coach. I could definitely see him
Reunited,
moving to
and
tight
it
end.
feels so
And running backs.
good.
He could have 3 or 4 touchdowns easy, even without getting it to the wide receivers.
Yeah, like I like Jawan Johnson for a tutty today. With Kamara out, I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Jamal Williams, which we all love because that man is gold. And if anything ever happens to him, we will hurt the people who do it. Yes, they let Will Lutz go
Yeah,
to the
Will Lutz is
Broncos.
on the Broncos now. Yep.
Did we keep him or? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
that's
kept
right.
him.
He was who we got after we.
We let Brett Mayer go.
Yeah.
Yep. Because.
Let's not talk about that.
All right. So yeah, all in all, I think this is going to be. Watch out for Derrick Henry, though. The Saints were 24th against the run, so Derrick Henry's probably going to have a big game. I think the Saints are probably going to take this one, though. I'm 34-21. That's kind of the way I see this game
I was about
going.
to say I like the Saints by over a touchdown.
Yeah.
In this one, so I think the 3 points. If we're talking gambling lines, I would hammer New Orleans on the 3, and I would maybe even tease that.
I would
down
say
to
with
like
all
a
the
6.
changes,
Yep.
I'm thinking like 24-20 or 27-20.
Yep.
I don't see it being super big blowout just because it's a lot of change and a new season. I think everybody's going to take it slow, maybe the first quarter and a half, but
I
that
think
second
I
quarter
think
is gonna
Derek
be
Carr's
big.
got something to prove.
Or
Like
second
this
half.
this first game, he's got something to prove.
Yeah.
This is such an
He
easy
should.
gimme game for him to make a
Oh yeah, he
statement.
should come out and
Yeah.
make a big statement because he has the ability to.
Honestly, would not be surprised if you saw like a 50-plus yard throw first drive of the game. Like if that's already scripted in. John Gruden's been working with this team. You're going to see a lot of like 2021 Raiders, where Derek honestly is probably going to be more the offensive coordinator of this team than anything.
Yep.
As we talked about last year a lot, I think that suits his strong suits. I'm happy for him, and I'm excited to watch the Saints this year. Now, Tyler, I will lead this. I'm actually going to give you the mic on this one here. We have the Niners versus the Steelers. Niners are favored by 2.5 points. Over under a 41. What do you think today? As we're expecting some rain here.
So, I like going into this game to start the season, kind of with at least with how it's shaped out. Because I'm watching Brock Purdy in first NFL action since the injury, and it's against a more than formidable team in the Steelers, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're out Ogunjobi and Hayward, I think, but they have T.J. Watt, and then
Hayward's supposed to play.
Hayward is supposed to play?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't find an official designation.
Hey, what's up, Ronald Show?
So I like that
Go in the side door.
with the Niners' offensive line taking a loss, a big loss in Mike McGlinchey this offseason. So going into this game fully healthy with Kittle's active and Bosa's active. So I think that the Niners defense will be able to, smother the Steelers.
He should be able to.
Should be able to, unless Pickett had a ridiculous offseason. So I'm actually really excited, outside of being a Niners fan, to see how Pickett can handle himself here. But I would expect Purdy and the Niners offense to be on the field a lot this game.
Let me ask you this: just how do you think this translates to how Purdy and everybody's going to play? Last year, Pittsburgh was 8th against the run. They were an absolute formidable run defense, but they were 20th against the pass. So how do you think that translates to Purdy coming back? What do you think that means for McCaffrey?
They did add Patrick Peterson. Just want to add that.
Oh yeah,
Did
they got-
Peterson
Steelers
lead the
didn't.
Vikings?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
Peterson.
I
yeah,
bet- I
that's why I
forgot.
was
That was
dogging
an
the
early
Vikings.
offseason.
Yeah, that's why I was dogging the Vikings. Is
Yeah.
because Peterson was like their only saving grace, and he's gone. So now they have Harrison Smith and a bunch of children.
Yep.
And that's one thing I kind of like, or that's one thing that I kind of figure as like a main script for this game is the Shanahan script of the play action, the quick little short pass, the dump passes. So I'm looking at Purdy facing pressure from T.J. Watt, from who is there on the Steelers line and our weekend offensive line. So I'm thinking CMC might catch, or it's a big receiving game for him with a lot of potential. I'm not seeing a lot of running going into this game, but the screens from Debo, and I think it's once again a big game for Kittle potentially. And I've been just demolishing every Ayuk pick I can get in every prop betting there is.
Purdy liked him almost more than Debo last year.
Loved him.
Yep.
Yeah, Purdy loves Brandon Ayuk. That's
So-
why I picked him up in a couple.
Yeah, I would take every prop I can get on Ayuk. I'm liking a lot of them.
What do you like?
Kittle.
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
I was
Justin.
gonna say, if they can keep Purdy clean, keep him vertical without hitting the ground, there's just so many weapons.
And he showed from game
many
one not only his ability to, but his comfortability to scramble and move around.
Good.
So I think I don't think he's going to be out of his comfort zone in this game.
I tell you what, we'll let you pick the prop for the. I'm trying to do one prop from each game for the morning games because there's 6 you can do on a slip and there's 6 games in the morning. So let's do one from each game. Pick one of these Brandon Ayuk slips, Tyler.
Okay.
4 receptions, 50 receiving yards, 10 fantasy points.
10 fantasy points for sure.
Smash you over on that one.
Yep, I think
Okay.
he goes 50 plus receiving yards,
Perfect.
probably 3 or 4 at least receptions, and I would expect a touchdown
Yeah, absolutely.
like that. And I think at the end of everything, I would say the Niners 28-31, Steelers 17-20.
Absolutely. And let's keep an eye out on George Pickens and Kenny Pickett. I don't want to overshadow this kid either because he had the highest efficiency ratings of any quarterback in the preseason. He looked good in the preseason, so I want to see how that is going to translate against first-team defenses.
I will say this, talking about one last thing about Kenny Pickett, and then we'll transition on. But the number one combination as far as quarterback rating was last year. Do you know who that was? It was Kenny Pickett to George
Oh, yeah.
Pickens.
Yeah.
Highest passer rating.
Yep. It's-
So something to keep an eye on. I believe 90.8 was the stat. So
Yep.
yeah.
The video I watched had which receivers had basically the best hands in football last year, and Pickens as a rookie had it was like number 4 on the list when it comes to
Yep.
most or least dropped balls per target.
Nice.
Ridiculous.
Moving on, we have the Toilet Bowl. Arizona Cardinals versus Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders favored by a full tutter
Okay, this
at
is
7 points. Over under 38. Let's make this one quick. How many points does Sam Howell get in fantasy today?
17.
Sam Howell, the new starting quarterback. This is what you get for taking a fucking year off, Justin.
Who?
No, I'm just.
I stand by that statement.
Sam
This is
Howell,
what
he
you
was
get for
actu-
taking a year off.
I know who Sam Howell is. It was
Okay.
just like-
I know. No, I think honestly, Cardinals are on full fire sale. They have done
Yeah.
almost nothing but to make this team worse. They're starting Josh Dobbs today. For fuck's sake, like Washington is going to, I
they
think,
whop
blow
them.
them up. I would like 3 touchdowns on this, please.
I don't
Yes.
even know if I mean, maybe 3 touchdowns, but I think they're going to be 3 very long, drawn touchdowns because we
Jahan
saw-
Dotson.
I'm thinking like Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Just chew the clock. I think Ron
Yeah.
Rivera really liked to do that last year, so I could see this game being as if
I
the
know
Washington
one-
Commanders score 3 touchdowns, I expect this game to be like 21-3.
I think
Yeah.
Brian Robinson's at like 58.5 rushing yards.
Yep.
That's a really popular bet right now. David Johnson, is he worth starting today? Like, considering he is the only thing on that offense, besides like Hollywood Brown, but obviously you have to
Did
have
you say
someone.
David
I
Johnson?
don't think so.
David Johnson's still on the Cardinals.
He's the Cardinals running back. I don't think so, just because
He's still in the NFL?
Not-
Yes.
Not Dave. No, not David Johnson. James
James
Conner. Jesus,
Conner.
why did?
I was like,
Because I think they're the same people. Why did I
Okay.
put David Johnson in here? This is what I get
No.
for doing my
Ja-
notes
James,
high.
James Conner is always a
James
startable
Conner.
fantasy running back.
He's got to be their offense today.
Yeah.
If he's the only thing the defense has to focus on, though, I mean, even if he breaks
I
out
would
and
just-
gets like 50, 60 yards and a touchdown,
I would
mean,
just
that's
still
a
say
decent-
Washington's defense is decent, but not great.
I think Chase Young's out, isn't he?
All right. In games without Kyler Murray last year, he averaged 72 rushing yards and a touchdown per game.
Okay.
That's
James
pretty good.
Conner did. He would have been on a 17-game pace of 1,200 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns. He played pretty damn good without Kyler Murray last year when they leaned on him, and that was even against good defenses. He had 63 yards and a touchdown against Denver. He had 80 yards and a touchdown against the Buccaneers, 69 and 2 touchdowns against the Rams, and even 42 and a touchdown against the 49ers.
Were
He
those
was
the good defenses you were talking about?
Denver had a good defense last year.
Yeah, Denver was one of the top
Yeah.
defenses in the NFL. They were just on
I
the
feel
field
like
all the
we
fucking
haven't been
time.
able to stop a running back from
Yeah.
gaining like 80 to 100 yards and a touchdown since John Lynch was there.
Well, that's what. Well, yeah, but the problem is that's what happens when you're on the field 45 minutes a fucking game. So
I think that's all we really need to touch base on that game. Who
No,
you got
they're,
next on your slate? I'm not doing any price picks out of this game. I'm leaving this one alone.
Just kidding, not one from every game.
Another crapshoot that I would only touch maybe the first half line is Houston Texans versus Baltimore. Baltimore
Yes.
is -10, so they're favored by 10 points. Over under 43.5. Yeah, I would love Lamar's first line. I would love J.K. Dobbins' receiving yard line, which is only at like 12.5 yards on certain sites. So I would hammer both of those over. I think J.K. takes a lion's share of the running back reps this year. He's back. He's healthy. I like J.K. in this game. But other than that, honestly, I think it's over by halftime. Now, if I am corrected by this and C.J. Stroud and the Texans ball out, I would love to see that. I just don't think that's the case.
So here's where I'm going to touch on this game real quick. Last year, the Texans were dead last against the rush. They were 32nd out of 32 teams. They, I believe, were averaging almost 200 rushing yards per game towards the end of the season. Yep, 196 rushing yards per game in their last 3 games.
Do they have any notable additions either?
Will Anderson Jr.
They do. Yep.
and D'Amico Ryans as a
The
head coach.
So they could take a step forward.
There's no steps back.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you're the worst team, there are
Let me rephrase that. They will take a step forward.
up to 27.
But they're not going to just suddenly be a shutdown run stop
No.
defense over. One thing I will point out, J.K. Dobbins coming back from injury when he had 2 healthy legs. He was averaging 99 rushing yards a game in the last 4 games that he was actually healthy, and he hold on. What?
He's just the most stable part of this, like Baltimore offense outside of Lamar. Like he needs to keep, he needs to be there to keep Lamar healthy.
So I'm gonna
Keep Lamar running as a passer and not so much like the designated runs. You know what I mean? Like let Lamar scramble run, but not. I don't think you should be at this point. Like you are now paying this man a fuck ton of money. Keep him healthy.
So
I
here,
kind of like this game for the potential of what we can maybe expect for the rest of the season, being that the Ravens are likely going to get out to a big lead early, and if C.J. Stroud's in the field, he's probably going to have no choice but to throw the ball. I want to see who he favors there as well between Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz.
John Mechie, dude. I want to see how people
there's
forget
a lot
that
of-
John Mechie was an early second-round pick.
There's a lot of
Tank
talk
Dell.
around Mechie, and there's a lot
And
of talk
Tank
around
Dell, yeah.
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell will end the season as their wide receiver 1. I'm calling it bold prediction here, but Tank is that boy.
So I want
Yeah.
to see how that goes.
With a
Who
name
does
like
he
Tank,
like
you
to
better
throw
be
to?
that boy.
I mean, his real first name's Nathaniel, but Tank's way cooler. So.
Yeah.
I would like to see this team have a big fantasy investment outside of Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I agree. And then prop line, this is probably one of the easiest smash overs I've seen all day. J.K. and Lamar combined 114 rushing yards.
Oh, wow.
So I'm smashing that over.
Yeah.
So here's what I got for our prize picks for the morning
Oh,
slate.
I thought we slammed it already. Are you throwing in?
Did you? Oh, Bryce Young over 13.5 rushing yards. Joe Mixon 17.5 rushing yards in his first 5 attempts. Anthony Richardson under 192 passing yards. Dobbins and Lamar over 114 combo. Kirk and Derek Carr over 528 passing yards combined, and then Brandon Ayuk over 10 fantasy points.
Yep.
I'm hitting that one.
Smash them, boys.
Smash it.
that.
The only thing I have different is instead of your last bet, I have Baker over 231. I think that happens today.
So I was trying to do one from each game, so I swapped out Baker for the Kirk and Derek stack.
Fair.
So,
Fair. That covers 2 games.
so going into the afternoon games now, what do we got?
Oh, you know where we're starting.
Oh, I know where we're starting.
The Raiders versus the Denver
This is going to be a fun game.
Donkeys. Broncos are fucking favored by 3.5 for some reason, even though they haven't won in 3 years against us. Over under of 44.
I mean, nothing significant change in Denver, so I don't know why the lines would move.
Yeah, well, it's because Sean Payton works for all the fucking networks last year, so
Just a Hall of Fame football coach. No
it's cool. We have the sexiest quarterback in the league now, all right? So everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
No, I'll kick it to you guys for the Denver portion. You guys talk Broncos. I'll talk Raiders afterwards.
Go ahead, Justin.
All right. I feel like the big elephant in the room is just going to be, can Russell Wilson do anything?
Can he
And
stop kissing the fucking
Can he
babies?
stop kissing all the fucking babies? I think taking last year off helped a lot because I haven't seen him kiss any babies since probably before last season, which is nice.
Yep.
I haven't had to see any of the bullshit.
Wait, you didn't
Swapped out his
You know what? Never
dartboard.
mind. Let's cut to Jace here. I'm sorry, I am going to cut you off. You didn't watch the shit show that was the Broncos last year.
No,
so
I
you
did. I watched
just
about
ran
5
off.
minutes per game, and then I was like, okay, this is terrible. And then I would leave, and then I would go check the score later and be like, oh, I'm really glad I didn't watch that and ruin my entire Sunday and week and year. So I watched just enough to know that I didn't need to watch the rest of it.
What I'm curious about is, does Russell Wilson swap his dartboard out for a picture of the Children's Hospital? And does he go from Mr. Unlimited to Mr. Fuck Them Kids?
Yeah.
Like, is his energy flip-flopping this year? You know, what's
Is he
he
gonna
doing?
put his energy where it needs
Yeah.
to be?
I've always imagined he's a low-key serial killer.
No,
Like, I'm just saying, no one's
I don't.
happy.
We still got 6
It
games to
makes
go
you
over, so
wonder.
I don't, and we only have 20 minutes, so I don't want to drag this out too long. But to be quick, what I'm looking for, obviously, is how does Russ translate with Sean Payne at head coach?
Yep.
How does Marvin Mims do with Jerry Jeudy a little banged up? Cortland Sutton, I think, is going to surprise everybody. I do think he's going to have a really good game today. Javonte Williams is going to be on a snap count, so I'm not expecting much from him. I'm benching him in all fantasy starts. Samaj P. Ryan is actually a good running back. He's a sneaky play, and Jaleel McLaughlin's supposed to be getting some reps
Jaleel
today
McLaughlin
too. So
is probably gonna
there's just a lot of
scare the
pieces
Raiders
I'm
defense.
curious to see. Obviously, how does Russ improve? I think he only can. He was so
I
bad
think it's
last year,
impossible,
but
yeah.
don't discount the Raiders either. I mean, Josh Jacobs was the best running back in football, and Denver's
yeah.
notoriously bad against
He's gonna
the rush.
he's gonna probably rush for 150 on.
And
Denver's
it will be
defense.
interesting to see how Garoppolo does Garoppolo end up being a level up from Derek Carr? Are we just even swapping? Like, how is this going to translate in Vegas? And I'll let you take over there, Cole.
Sweet. And then I will lead backwards. We'll start with your last question. Is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade? Yes, in this offense. You got to remember, now we are actually having a quarterback who started his career working in the McDaniels system. So, well, he hasn't been there for a couple of years playing out with Shanahan. That's not something you forget. You never forget your first. You never forget your first. And Jimmy G started his career with the Patriots. I think he's excited. There's a reason we chose him. There's a reason he chose to come to Vegas. The more it's gone on, it wasn't the sexy pick I wanted outside of the looks of the actual quarterback himself. But as far as, having a splash signing or like taking a rookie high, it wasn't what a lot of fans wanted, but I think it's what we needed because,
It wasn't sexy.
yeah, unlike the man who's a fucking Greek god. But no, I think Jimmy's good for this offense. The keys to the Raiders being a successful team this year is they kind of hinge in the middle right now.
Yeah.
Because last year we were 7-10 with arguably, the worst quarterback play we've had of all of Derek Carr's tenure. Even since his rookie year, I think he was worse last year. And which is crazy considering he had the best offense around him. You had Devontae Adams, you had Josh Jacobs, you had Darren Waller for part of the season, Hunter Renfrow for a little bit of the season. But Jimmy, I think, takes I'm going to say quarter step back in talent. You have a better receiver than what he had in San Francisco as far as number one. But the combo of obviously Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo is better than Renfrow, Myers, and Devontae, even with Devontae being the best out of all 6 of those guys. Jimmy does have one thing that he didn't have until halfway through the season last year, though. And he has it all year, and that is a all-pro caliber running back, a top 5 running back in the league. Not quite the pass threat that McCaffrey is, but I do think Josh Jacobs is a little bit better in the meat of it. He's more of a possession back, more of a power back. So our keys to success here is obviously health, biggest thing every year. But I don't think there's going to be an issue facilitating for Jimmy. Like he's careful.
I will say when you touch on health, from my recent memory, anytime Denver was good and we were down in a game against a good team, we hurt a key player, and that's why we win.
Yeah. So I think Josh Jacobs is obviously a hammer for me today because Josh Jacobs has played the Broncos 7 times in his NFL career. 4 of those times he has ran for at least 2 touchdowns. 5 of those times he's ran for 100 yards.
I got two.
He's we nicknamed him the Bronco Killer for a reason, but I think Jacobs does run hard on the Broncos. I don't like their new defensive line as far as run defense. I think you guys definitely went more pass rush focus, signing Zach Allen, making the moves you guys did. You guys did get rid of Dayton Jones, who was a big run stopper for you last year. So this defense is still great, but you're definitely a better secondary than front 7. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To start off that 1-year deal.
Oh, yeah, another 1-year deal and another fucking prove it year. You want a pissed off man. This man is he's ready to go.
Before we move on to the next game, let's play pick a line, okay? Let's play pick a prop. Cortland Sutton, 4 receptions, so 1 reception per quarter when he's the only wide receiver out there right now next to a rookie, or Josh Jacobs and Russell Wilson combined for a touchdown. Like either one of them has to
I
have a
feel like
rushing
those are
touchdown.
both smash.
Rushing touchdown.
Easily, yeah. Because I feel like our linebackers are
Though
really
Josh
inexperienced.
Jacobs, Russell Wilson one is easier. but
Yeah.
I actually, I will say this: the Raiders, a lot of people are like saying, sneaky start Russ.
Yep.
We completely overhauled what was one of the bottom 5 secondaries in the
Yeah.
league. The only returning member is Trevon Moehrig. Nate Hobbs was hurt most of the year last year, and in that time we were, I think, 16th or 18th against the pass
Yep.
when Hobbs was playing.
Yeah.
It's when he went out we had issues. We bring in an all pro like Marcus Peters. And also a very sneaky one, Marcus Epps, our new strong safety. I think he's going to pair very well with Trevon Moehrig. Trevon Moehrig had a problem as a tackler. I think Epps is, he was the number 1 rated run-stopping safety last year.
Yep.
So I would say, honestly, I like the Broncos in the short term. That's like Greg Dulcich is another hammer for me. And I'll stop talking so we can
No,
move
you're
on to the
good.
games here. But
Yeah.
also another hammer, I'd say Greg Dulcich. And, maybe Russell Wilson scrambling in for a red zone touchdown is a good prop, too.
We get 22 minutes to get props in before the game starts. So let's do a little power through
Speed
the
run?
afternoon games.
Speed
Yep.
run?
Packers Bears next on your slate.
Yep.
Okay.
Here, I'll pop out for Tanner. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Tanner just came in an ugly
actually gonna
green
go
and yellow jersey.
All right. So the
The Bears
the
owner has left
Packers
the
are
Packers.
visiting the Bears.
Cody Sausage.
It's a home game. Now, I think the biggest storyline here is Jordan Love's true debut game as the solidified starter, going up against Justin Fields, who was absolutely nuclear in the second half of last season. Looking at the two teams, just how they rank, as far as rushing defense goes, I think that's important. Green Bay was 26th against the rush last year. Going up against Justin Fields, that's a little terrifying. And then if you're looking at passing defense last year, I wanted to see how the Bears stacked up in 2022, which they were
Bad.
pretty damn bad.
They were good at anything.
Actually, no, they weren't as bad. They were 18th. They did. They were
Not as
bad
bad
at
as the
the end.
Packers.
So they only allowed 218 passing yards a game last year, but in the last 3, they allowed almost 300. So they
Didn't
really melted down at the end.
David
of the year last year.
Montgomery leave the Bears for the
Lions.
though.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're down David Montgomery. They
Yep.
still have Justin Fields as a strong runner, but
Yep.
who's their other runner?
They got Khalil Herbert, and that kid is talented. Do not sleep on him. So,
Chuba Hubbard.
Tanner, what are you looking for in this game? What are your biggest storylines you're excited to see in this one?
It is going to be nothing but run.
Yeah. Yep.
Christian Watson's out.
Yep.
I mean, our Packers secondary is good enough to hold DJ Moore and anything the Bears can pass through the air. Our secondary is pretty good, but yeah, it's going to be run for days. Fortunately, their D line is healthy now. Rashawn Gary was hit or miss last year. Devontae Campbell had some injuries too.
Devondre.
I said Montaigne.
I saw Montaigne.
Yeah, so I mean, so there's going to be some. We're a little healthier than last year.
Yep.
We're starting with our,
I
our
hope so,
starters,
week one.
except Christian Watson.
Yep.
Hey, not
Dobbs
it.
is doubtful too, isn't he?
Who? Dobbs is doubtful yet, or not doubtful, questionable. He's
They
not.
don't have they don't have doubtful anymore.
Yeah, I was like, if they don't start, we're going to do like 4 running back sets. All right, it's nothing
Can we
but
just
run.
get a 1 to 5 star like scale for the injury report from now on? Like, give us like something
But,
that people can read.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed, though, rookie wide receiver for the Packers, keep an eye out for him too. I'm curious to see how chemistry-wise he does look with Jordan Love, especially with Christian Watson being out. He
I
could
think
be
a
a
lot of
sneaky
it's
play.
going to depend on those.
He had some good
chemistry
catches in the
things.
preseason, but he was pretty quiet
Yeah.
overall.
Musgrave too. I've had some investments in him in fantasy
Yep.
drafts this year. I want to see that pay off.
Zach Thompson was telling me he's got like all the tangibles of Dallas Goedert, but better.
Yep.
Before
He
you
broke all
tell him
SDSU's
who's
record. I
favored
didn't
by how
even know
much.
that.
How much do you favor the Packers by? How many points?
3.
3? You think it's gonna be that close?
It's going to be a close game.
What do they got?
Yeah.
But the
What's
Bears
the- what's
defense
the-
is
I don't
booty.
know what the line.
I
The
will
line
always say
is
that.
1.5.
Oh damn!
Yep. So
You got it close.
Yep. Hey guys, how's
Welcome,
it going?
guys.
So my
Mahalo.
prize picks prop for this one is actually another combined one. It's Bijan Robinson and Justin Fields have 134 rushing yards total, and I'm smashing the over on that.
I
one.
would smash it. He could get
Yeah.
that in himself.
Smash
Yep.
that ass, B.
Yep. So moving on to the next game. Cole, who do you got next up on your docket here? I'm gonna guess it's probably Dolphins Chargers.
I think it is, but let's check. Up next, we have Philadelphia Eagles first. New England Patriots and the
this is gonna be a
line
shit
is
show.
Phillies -4. I forgot to put in the over/under.
That sucks.
27, Bob.
They're only
Yeah.
they're only 4.5 favored. That should
only
be
four,
more,
4.5
shouldn't it?
points. I feel like it should.
At least
The
7,
over
maybe
under
10.
is 44. Lions negative 3.5 favoring Philadelphia, obviously. So this
Too few.
there's not a
Patriots
whole-
do have a real offensive coordinator now. I do want to say
Yeah.
they,
At least one
they are
enlisted
not playing
on
a
the coaching
defensive
staff.
coordinator as an OC. By God, would you believe it? They hired someone who's a fucking offensive coordinator. Hi.
How are you doing?
Is this private party?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Yep.
Hey man,
fucking
I
stare
ain't
at
gay.
him.
Is that
but
Sean Payton?
$20
I
is
thought
$20.
that was Sean
Yeah. Shouldn't you be in Denver right now?
Hey, sit down, dude. Come have a seat.
I mean, he did look a little swelled up, but I can see the resemblance.
All
Yeah,
right.
Sean's been drinking this off season. Fuck.
No, I meant like swelled up, like
I don't think
a little salty.
I don't think that there's a ton we need to probably go over in this game.
I agree.
The Patriots do have a good defense.
On
I mean,
on the current NFL average, not like on
Yeah.
the Patriots average.
let's-
It's atrocious compared to what the
you know
Patriots
what? I think
defense should be.
I'm gonna stay away from any props on this game. I'm getting
What
a
are the
bad
prop bets?
feeling.
I'm curious.
There's 100 of
We
them.
we
so I
can
don't
cover them
really
here in a
know.
never
bit.
mind.
Let's run through so we can get like drinks
Yep.
and ordered stuff
Yep.
before
Let's
we
take
get
the
on
Eagles
here.
by 10
Yep.
points.
So, yep, I'm taking the Eagles to win by 10 points. Yeah, I think they're gonna walk away with
It
this one.
shouldn't be
Chargers,
close.
Dolphins next.
Boom. Next up in the speed round, Dolphins, Chargers, LA by 3 points. Over under 51. This one's going to be a banger, I think.
Yep.
Is Herbert the MVP caliber player that he has kind of shown at times? I do think this is the best case for the Chargers. I like Kellen Moore with the playmakers they have. Definitely think he's upgrading, going from Dak to Herbert, going from that receiving core, which was good with CeeDee Lamb. But I mean, this is one of the best in the league. You're talking QJ, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen.
Yep.
I do like the Chargers in this game.
I do too. I got the Chargers by probably 3
I
points.
might
mean,
be
it's
the
I
odd
think it's
man out.
close.
I think the Dolphins could easily take it.
they could, yeah.
I think that the Chargers, they have a lot of talent. Like you said, Justin Herbert is the MVP caliber quarterback. He has all the physical traits
He
and
has healthy
mental
ribs
traits.
this year.
He is that guy. He is him.
Yeah.
I don't have faith in the Chargers, the ownership or the coaching staff.
Only thing I'll say is Chargers defense is healthy, which
Yeah.
they
and they
weren't
have
after
a good
week
defense
one.
when
And
they're healthy.
Herbert's healthy. He had broken ribs all year last year.
For me, it's the coaching staff where I
People
have
are forgetting
issues,
that.
and the ownership, obviously.
In the last 8 games when Herbert's was healthier, he was averaging almost 300. He was averaging 300 yards and 2 touchdowns a game.
This could
just
easily be a
passing.
big shootout.
Um,
I think.
Yeah,
that-
I'd
I think
hammer
the
the
Dolphins
over if
take
it's
it in a
on.
shootout.
I found the easiest prop in the world for this game. Justin Herbert 2 or more passing and rushing touchdowns.
Oh yeah,
That is-
Smashing
yeah.
the over on that one.
Even passing.
And
would've
even if
been
he only
an
does
easy
2,
one.
you break even and you
Yeah.
you push the slip. So
I think the Chargers take this game, but I really
Yep.
like this as a start for Tyreek Hill's 2,000 receiving yard
Yep.
campaign,
Ooh.
and Raheem Mostert having the bulk of the load.
I agree.
Yep.
Raheem Mostert's going to be a sleeper
yeah.
this week.
Devon A. Chain is counted out, so it's Sullivan, Ahmed,
Yep.
and Mostert. It's Mostert all day long.
All right.
So
what do we got
moving
next?
on, we got Rams, Seahawks, almost a touchdown. I had it last at 5.5.
Yeah, Gino's my start of the week at quarterback. He's going to
Yep.
absolutely smash this week.
They've redone the secondary, but not in a good way.
Yep.
I think the Rams are going into a very uncomfortable year, to
Yeah.
where they have some talent around. Like when Cooper Kupp and Stafford are on, like they have a chance to win games.
Yep.
You know, Aaron Donald's still there, but at the end of the day, I like the Rams to honestly finish second worst in this division. They're not as bad as the Cardinals, but they're still probably picking top 10 next year.
Yep.
I will say they always have a good game against the Seahawks. That's a
Rams?
tough division rivalry, and
I like-
the Seahawks and Rams always have a tough game. I feel
I like-
I've never seen one of those be a blowout. So even 7 points, I feel like would be too much.
Cole's going to make fun of me for this one, but I really like Cam Akers in this game because Cooper Kupp is out. So when he's out, they lean on Akers, and I will give you an example.
Lean, they full on use him as a fucking crutch, bro.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
why, I think that's why he
Yeah.
can't stay healthy.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
can't stay healthy because when they have problems, they lean way too much on him.
Yeah.
And he's not that
Yeah,
30 carry
he's
game
used
guy.
more than a sophomore at
Yep.
Texas's campus last
He
night.
wa-
after
he
they
was
knocked off
averaging-
Alabama, brother. All right, like
Yeah.
Cam Akers is going to be fucking used and abused. Don't be surprised if that ACL tears week 1. All right,
The last-
but
Akers in this game, and I like
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee
Last 7 weeks of the season, Akers averaged 85 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was on a 17-game pace for 1,500 rushing yards just in his last 7 games.
Oh, yeah, he has the talent for sure.
I am taking in this line or in this particular game, I'm gonna actually take Cam Akers 18 rushing yards in his first 5 attempts. I think that's an easy smash over. So
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
easy.
Moving on. Are you ready for some football? It's a Sunday night party. Of course, we have the Cowboys playing because why the fuck not? You know, primetime games all the time. But they
How
are
about-
facing the
how
New
about 'em?
York Giants. I got a lot of love here. Giants or Dallas is favored by 3.5. Fuck it. You guys know I've been on Daniel Jones all off season. He gets Darren Waller. He gets a group of wide receiver threes around him.
Because we've seen how well that works
just
out.
like 8 wide receiver threes. I'm talking Jalen Hyatt. I'm talking Wandale Robinson, brother. Sterling Shepard's back. I'm talking mid to mediocre performances from everybody. Oh, yeah. When Hulk Hogan finished it off with some Macho Man.
The spoiled cream rises to the top.
Yeah. If you smell 5 receivers with 20 yards. But really, I'd still smash Darren Waller, even though injured hamstring, that's nothing new for the Rock Walrus.
He'll just take a shot.
He's
and
got
move
them
forward.
Cooper Cup hamstrings, motherfucker. Them things are always hurt. But, yeah, Waller and Saquon hammer that because Saquon they're going to
Yep.
lead on in this
Yeah,
game. And I think
He'll have 200 yards. Saquon
although
will, if he
Stephon
stays
Gilmore,
healthy.
Stephon Gilmore is on the Cowboys now, ladies and gentlemen. So that is deadly next to Trayvon Diggs. The Cowboys.
Yeah, but what if
their
he falls
defense-
asleep? What if he falls asleep on the field mid-play?
He's not that old.
Because there's nobody to cover.
Yeah. Yeah, when Stephon Gilmore takes one side and
It's like
Trayvon
he's gonna
Diggs
get
takes
burned
another.
because he falls asleep on one of those stutter routes. He's like, oh God, they went past me. What happened?
Or he's too old and Jalen Hyatt fucking takes him deep
Yep.
one time.
yeah, watch. I'm excited to see Jalen Hyatt this year. I think he's a sneaky.
I think he averages over 20 yards of reception. I'm not saying he gets a lot of receptions,
Yep.
but I do think all of his targets are deep.
Yes.
I think if this was any other,
I hope Isaiah Hodgins takes the wide receiver 1 reins there.
Yeah.
I want to see Tony Pollard's work.
He was
I like.
yeah.
Darius Slayton was a beast last year.
Darius
Before he got
Slayton's always
hurt.
been good.
Yeah.
But I think if this was any other non-market team playing against the Giants would have been favored. Maybe only a point or two. But because it's the markets, the 2 biggest markets, and Jerry
Yep.
kind of owns everybody else a little bit more, even in the big markets, I think that's the only reason they're favored.
I think at
I
the
think
end
this
of
should
the
be a
day-
Giants win.
At the end of the
Alright.
day, it's going to be a Pollard and Barkley show. That's what it's going to
Yeah.
be. So, yep.
Who gets the
Run,
200
run,
yards
run.
first?
The Tony and Barkley show.
Moving on to the last one here. This is gonna be a good Monday Night Football game. We got Bills Jets. Bills favored by 2.5.
Oh my God,
Over under
yes,
40,
yes.
46.
Jets.
Aaron Rodgers
Rodgers.
is still in green.
T-S.
Jets.
All right, let's
Jets,
just get
Jets,
quick
Jets.
here so we can rock through because this is going to be a great game. But honestly, so much disrespect being played to the Bills.
Yeah.
Like let's
Yeah.
not remember. Let's not forget that there was a certain point before DeMar Hamlin got hurt. They were the number 1 seed. They
Yeah.
kind of got fucked out of that whole situation. Also, I don't care how good. Like DeMar Hamlin was competent last year. They lost their starting safety, completely opened up that secondary. So I like the Jets overall, but this is still game 1. The Bills have been together more. This is still a very fresh team. I'd hammer the under 46. I actually
Yeah.
do think it's going to be a very big defensive battle, and I have the Bills covering that
Yeah,
2.5
yeah,
by
absolutely.
3 points. I do only have them by 3, but if the line's 2.5, that's enough.
I just don't see Aaron Rodgers going off week 1 debut with a new team. Yes, it's a similar system, but I mean, he showed he struggled in that same system in Green Bay without weapons.
Yeah.
So I don't see him going off for 3 or 4
One
touchdowns.
there's one thing he has that he hasn't had in Green Bay that he didn't have last year, and that's a wide receiver 1, a solid wide receiver 1.
Who
Garrett
wears
Wilson's
number
that dude.
17?
Well,
You
last
gotta
year.
remember, that's
I
very
just mean
important.
over the
You have
years.
to wear number 17 if you want to
Yes.
be his wide receiver.
A route running guy who wears
think-
number
do you-
17. Where have
Do you
I
think
seen
that,
this
do you think that's more
before?
mental? Do you think that's like trying to get Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers on the same page? Like he'll look at me if I'm wearing this number. I
he was-
would.
Who else
He was
was
wearing that
Rodgers like
number
rumored
before,
to go
so.
to besides the Jets?
Huh?
Who else was Rodgers rumored to go to besides the Jets? And I feel like he was just like, you don't have a number 17 who's good. I'm not playing there.
I can't even remember. Yeah. Tennessee, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
think
I
it
think
was.
it was pretty much like New York the entire time because I
Yeah.
know Derek
Yeah.
signed with the Saints, and then everybody kind of like focused on.
Oh,
New
there was a
York.
big Niners rumor too there for a while.
That's right.
Yep, there was a big
That's
Niners
right.
rumor. But yeah, it's going to be a great game. I do have the Bills winning it. I mean, let's be honest.
They
I love the
should.
Jets. I love Aaron Rodgers, but I think the Bills are going to. So it's going to be a close game.
If
but
it's
the Bills
anything
will
like
take it.
Thursday, I'll be happy.
Yep.
That was amazing.
The Lions beat the Chiefs, and I will pick the Jets.
I did not.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. The Jets allowed one team to score more than 30 points on them last year, and that was with a booty offense.
And I think Josh Allen's overrated. So
Yeah.
That's fair.
I pick the Jets.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
As we
That clears
finally
it.
say,
It's football time.
enjoy your fucking Sunday. We're back, baby.
We're back.
To you. Is that what we say?
Yeah. To you.